It's summer out here at Ivy Ridge and it is hot. We're hacking our way through the woods in long sleeves and pants in 100-degree weather. If you didn't see our Welcome to Ivy Ridge video from a couple weeks ago, I suggest you go back and watch it after you finish this one because there are some names and areas that will make a lot more sense if you've seen that video first. For example, everything we build out here at Ivy Ridge is up to you, the viewers. At the end of each video, we give you some options and you'll decide what we build next by going to our website and using the voting buttons. In our last video, we asked if you wanted us to build a long, slow technical trail or a short, fast jump trail. There must have been a lot of moms out there that voted because the long, slow trail won. So Jeremiah and I got up super early and started ripping into the woods. We didn't have any sort of plan of attack or really any idea what we were doing at all. I knew the general direction I wanted the trail to go, so we just went that way and moved stuff as we went. It was honestly a pretty unproductive and boring morning, not to mention it was way too early for Jeremiah.
Found some horsies out here this morning.
Even though the early morning and lack of planning slowed us down at first, we did get a pretty good idea of where we wanted the trail to go, and we saw some cool potential features along the way. Jeremiah helped clear a few leaves before we walked the whole trail together to see how it was going to work. We decided that the trail had a pretty good outline and it was time to start really turning it into something rideable. But since I have to go to work every day, the only way I could find time to build this trail was in the mornings before work. That means I had to get up at 5 a.m. every day if this thing was going to get finished. So I came back out every morning for the next 6 days straight and got about an hour of work on the trail before I left for work. The afternoon before I started doing this, we received a special package from the Crooked Smiley Face people that would help me out over the course of the week. I will use these irrigation flags to mark the trail so I don't forget where I'm going. I put one in the ground about every 10 to 20 yards so I could see where the trail was headed and measure how much trail I was able to clear every day. I averaged between 30 and 50 yards a day depending on what sort of foliage was in my way. Once the trail was marked, I used the Strava app to measure it and get a good picture of what I was actually building. When I first saw the route that it mapped, I was super confused. It didn't look anything at all what I felt like it was going to look. It took me a few days to figure out that Google Maps on my desktop hadn't been updated in quite a few years, so the tree line was off, making my map disproportionate. A while back, my parents sold a large portion of land behind their house, and this skewed the border on my map. So I took a screenshot of the Google Maps on my phone, which had been more recently updated, and used that to overlay in Photoshop to find out where the actual border was. Once I did that, the map made a lot more sense, and now we have a good idea of what this trail actually looks like. Now that the trail is mapped, it's time to start cutting some of the bigger stuff. I tried to route the trail so that I didn't have to cut down very many trees. However, some small trees did have to get the saw. On my first pass, I left the stumps kind of tall so I would be able to easily see them when I came back the next time. Then I took a cordless reciprocating saw. Some people call this a sawzall, but that's actually just a brand, like Kleenex. And I cut the stumps as low to the ground as possible. I also used this saw to cut some of the fallen snags out of the way. Some of these will probably be turned into features later, depending on what you choose for us to build. With the big stuff out of the way, it was time to step into gear and just rake the leaves until the cows come home. This was very tedious, and yes, I did try other options. The blower could have been pretty good, and in some places it worked great, but in other places there were too many twigs and weeds in the ground and it just didn't work out. So since there were so many places that I had to use the rake anyway, it was just easier to not even lug the blower out here and only use the rake. I also tried a weed eater for a little bit, and it worked pretty well, but with all the poison ivy out here, I didn't like having to constantly wonder if I was spraying sumac all over my face. So for now, I'm just going to stick to the good old-fashioned rake. If you have any better suggestions, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear them. Just as we were finishing up the trail, the weather had different plans. So, while we wait for the rain to let up, let's talk about something else for a second. As you know, we're planning on building a lot of features out here, and we want to bring you along for every step of the journey. But some of these features will have costs associated with them, so we wanted to introduce you to our new Patreon account. If you go to patreon.com/senditlocal, you will see 2 monthly options that you can sign up for, and for less than $1 a month, you can have a big impact on our trail building efforts out here at Ivy Ridge. You will also receive exclusive updates, early releases, behind-the-scenes content, and 10% off everything in our online store. With that being said, we had to buy a couple things to make this build complete, so first, if you remember from the last video, the bunnies needed to be protected. So we bought a high-tech Super Future bunny protection kit and installed it with the latest robotics machining tools. And what sort of trail system doesn't have a good trail map station at each hub? We're calling this Hub A, and this is where all of our southern trailheads will begin. We're going to turn a dead tree and a couple pieces of plexiglass into Ivy Ridge's primary trail map station. Rather than pack the ground out here full of concrete, we're just going to put some dirt back in and tamp it down pretty good. I think that's more than enough for a $5 trail map station. Alright, this is starting to look like a real trail system out here. Let's ride the Roxy Rut. We were having a lot of trouble with this turn out here, so we went back and sessioned it for a little while. We couldn't figure out a way around it without either coming to an almost complete stop or running off into the woods completely. So we'll have to work on that at some point. We just got done sessioning the trail for the first time. It's a ton of fun, but now it's time to look at what the next options are for next week. So option number 1 is going to be take this log right here that you see. Whoa, not a weatherman. see this log right here, and put a skinny on top of it. It's right by the trail, so the trail comes right behind me, comes like this away. And so it's already right on the path. We just put a few 2x4s on top and build a skinny right on top of this this here. That's option one. This is the corner that gave us so much trouble. You come in this direction, and then you swoop around this tree, and it's not nearly as swoopy as I thought it would be when we first started cutting it. So since this gives us so much trouble, option number two is going to be to build an A-frame right here that does a little bit of a turn to go down the other side. All right, so option number two is an A-frame that goes up and turns and goes down around the corner. With our first trail cut, a connector trail to the summit, and an official trailhead, we are stoked to start building some features. Thanks for watching. It would mean a lot if you can click that subscribe button. Until next time, we'll see you out there.
I just showed my weight.